So, what do you got in your cup, dude? I'm just about to pour some batch brew.
Very nice, very nice. I'm rocking actually the place where I'm living. It's called Sonaru. Got a little cappuccino with an espresso based of some natural processed Sonaru coffee. A little like small crop that I've been working on myself. So that's what I've got. A little
Sick.
cappuccino rocking.
What are you picking up?
Definitely, it's definitely a nice mellow coffee for a natural. It's not too acidic or anything, and then espresso based. So we're at a lower elevation. So yeah, I got some really nice like rich chocolatey notes. There's some like berry on the light in there. Really high sweetness. That I like about this. It's a low altitude coffee, but it's really sweet. So like a lot in the espresso base, you get a lot of sweetness.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
what do you got rocking, dude?
Yeah, I got a good old Tanzania pea berry. Older crop.
Oh, a
but
pea berry.
It was a coffee
Interesting.
that we were just messing around with, so I've been throwing in like small batches in the roaster and just going for it. You know what I
Cool,
mean?
yeah.
And
Yeah,
experimenting.
you got to have those, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you got to have those. Yeah.
But
This is a crop from last year as well. So
oh yeah,
it really mellowed out after a year. So it's just like fun to experiment with, you know?
totally. Well, folks, welcome. That was a very, very abrupt start to things, and probably you noticed that things are a little bit different. We got a screen going, Zoom recording. Mark is not behind the microphone, but he is behind the camera. We've got Taylor Leary all the way from Indonesia.
Howdy, how we doing?
Yeah, personally, my best friend. Known each other for, close to a decade now. Traveled the world together. Went to Indo for
Truly.
the first time, I think, together.
Yeah.
No, I went without you first time, and then
You went first.
yes, and
You've
then I
been-
came
yeah, you
visited
came
you.
after,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Some incredible
just
friends.
awesome time. If you've listened to this podcast long enough, you've heard the name Taylor, because a lot of the core vision of Mirror is basically around this idea of what Taylor and I experienced, shared it with people, and then Mark brought his own also flavor to what Mirror means to him. So we've kind of merged the two together to create this company and to be able to serve delicious coffee, connect with people all over the world. I mean, Indonesia, all the way on the other side of the world. Dude, what's our time difference, man? Like something
Oh man,
crazy.
you're on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So
Se-
yeah,
seven-
right now it's
14, 17
it's almost
hours?
2 o'clock.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's a big jump. I think it's 17 hours.
Dude,
yeah, or
2
something.
p.m., almost 2 p.m. for you, almost 11 p.m. for me. Dude, that's a big
Dang.
change. So literally
Yeah.
connecting people across the globe. So super pumped.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Dude, whenever I introduce you or share our story, like our friendship story, I always bring up that one time when we sat down at Jalapeno Express over in Jacksonville Beach, Florida,
Dude,
and had that moment, that coffee moment where we made kind of a groundbreaking decision to be like, are we going to do this for good? Like, is this like the real deal? Is this the decision? Or is this just kind of a fad? Like, we're kind of, cool, hip coffee guys. Or is this going to be like, yeah, we're in. And I think at that moment, we both like, man, this is going to be more than just a season of life. This is going to be a long-term thing. And we
Definitely,
went
yeah.
and got these hamburger tattoos, or like we like to call them. Like,
Dude, to this day, people still call it hamburger.
yeah, dude, it's so wild. But they're actually coffee beans.
So funny.
We literally looked for
yeah.
like a tattoo artist all over, like who will do this tattoo. Finally, Florida Velvet came in clutch.
Yeah. First tattoo. That was my first tattoo.
Dude.
And you're like, let's do it. I'm like, okay. Like, why not? Like, dude, crazy. That was like a couple days before I left for Indonesia, like in 2017.
yeah.
Like, I think I was like leaving the next day or 2 days or something. And you're like, if I pay for it, will you do it? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, that was awesome, dude.
Super dope. Yeah.
Yeah, truly.
With that said, go ahead and dive in and kind of share a little bit of your backstory, like with coffee, kind of what we call the enlightenment story, when it really hits you like, oh, third wave coffee, like flavor notes, specialty, what does this all mean? And kind of let us know, like tell us a little bit of your story.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you were definitely a huge part of my journey. Like you said, like, I felt like we kind of stepped into it together a little bit, kind of on the same path. And I think we were both in a big season of transition, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And we were both kind of like, yeah, are we going to set our lives to this. Like, you were in a season and me as well. And we're kind of talking about things like, is there a possibility in this? Like, what do things look like? That was kind of, we were on that same journey together. But yeah, as for coffee, I actually never drank coffee before coming to Indonesia. Back in 2000. The first time I came to Indo was 2014. And I had never drank coffee, like didn't know anything about it. My good buddy who came with me to Indo drank a lot of coffee and liked French presses and stuff. So he was the guy in the house who was always brewing and stuff and kind of sharing about it. But I never really was a fan of it or anything. But coffee being such a huge part of Indonesian culture was like, whether I liked it or not, like coffee became a part of my life those first couple of years in Indo. So yeah, drinking local coffee and sitting around and, sometimes 8 cups a day, just hanging out with the locals and just building relationship and stuff.
Side note, dude, give us a run through on how classic Indonesian brew method. I'm not going to give it away, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, for those that have been to Indonesia, they call it the tubruk style, meaning it's just grounds in a cup, and it's not instant coffee that disappears, but it's when you drink the coffee, it's like, it's sitting at the bottom waiting for you there. And I even knew people that would eat it after they drank their cup of coffee. They'd eat the grounds. So it's just as simplistic as you can get. It's just
basically a cup,
a tablespoon of coffee. Yeah. Tablespoon of coffee. And then sometimes a tablespoon of sugar, hot water in like these super small condensed glasses. And the coffee's roasted super dark and it's really bitter, but it gets balanced with the sweetness of the sugar. And yeah, it's like in these super small cups. And, especially in the island where I'm living, the island of Lombok, it is a staple of every home. Like people have coffee trees surrounding their homes. And every time you show up to somebody's house, even if you're a stranger, it's like, hey, here's a coffee for you.
I can totally attest to that, because I remember when I came to visit you and you took me to a friend's house who wasn't doing too hot. And when we came to visit them, that family, I remember the lady of the house went and was pan roasting coffee on that stove. And then literally like 30 minutes later, they were crushing it, grinding it down, and were serving it to us. So wild. Yeah,
it's a very unique landscape. It's incredible because there's just, there's coffee everywhere. It's just amazing. So, yeah. And but I think thinking of my first memory of like specialty coffee and like got me excited about the possibilities. Yeah. I think it might have actually been in my hometown of Jacksonville, Florida. I had a Kenyan and a pour over, and just like the notes of floral just blew me away. And like, I had no clue like that coffee could be like that, but that was like more of the specialty side. But getting introduced to coffee and the culture of how coffee can be connected to relationships and what it means for the Indonesian people was something really unique and special for me. Just being immersed in the culture here, every conversation was being had over a glass of coffee, so just a really unique thing.
Yeah. So how long have you been in Indo now?
I have been going, it's now 7 years. So since I first came in 2014, I haven't spent more than 3 months back in the States. So, I've been here, go home for a couple months, come back, so, visit the family every couple years or so. So
totally.
Yeah, it's been about 7 years now. Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know what visit it was, but you started working basically for an importing company, and that was kind of your first kind of introduction to green coffee. Is that correct? Do I remember right?
Yeah, I would say, other than buying some like, really low grade samples on the side of the road, because coffee here is everywhere. You can stop at a little shop, like a mom and pop shop, and just buy like a kilo of green coffee that's like not really processed that well. But it was at the end of 2016 when I got one of my SCA certifications and was looking to come back to Indonesia and work with coffee. I was invited by a company owned by a Texan in Java, and he invited me to come do some work with him, and really got introduced to the agricultural side of things and green coffee and specialty green coffee and sorting and kind of the whole spectrum of like, how do you go from like red cherries on a tree to specialty coffee in a cup? So from there, that was 2000 and Actually, that was 2018. Yeah. So, backing up a little bit, 2017, I started working with a guy from Toraja who invited me on. He was doing some work in Bali. So I had a little kind of hands-on learning experience with him, and then got invited with working with that big exporter in Java. So that was almost 2 years. And then these past couple of years now, I've been kind of pioneering my own thing up here on the mountain where I live in the island of Lombok, where I've been kind of pioneering, kind of integrating that knowledge I've learned the past couple of years to work with farmers here and kind of help them with their crop.
I want to dive into that a little later down. But I think basically, could you kind of like share more of like over the course of like the last 5 years, like what have you learned about the coffee community in Indonesia? Everything from, you know, people who drink coffee and people who basically serve coffee, like coffee professionals, and then a lot of the like the farming and producing side of it as well, because you and I talk a lot about robusta coffee. You always throw out the words of like fine robusta, whatever that it means, and everything that you even talked about, some splicing that you were working on. So share kind of a lot of that information.
Oh yeah. Well, Indonesia is definitely a really unique landscape just because like the growing areas throughout the archipelago, like there's just hundreds and hundreds of growing areas. So it's like, there's such a unique landscape. Like when I lived in Java, you could be at a specialty coffee shop, you know, a third wave shop, drive 10 minutes and get to the origin, you know? So just, unique landscape of it is every year the consumer level is growing like massively. And Indonesia being a very communal culture, there's a really like awesome, you know, network of home brewers. There's like this big movement of home brewers Indonesia. So it's really cool how you're seeing these specialty coffee is taking over home brewing as well. So it's awesome. Like, there's this awesome, there's this amazing community where it's like people are sharing ideas. There's a lot of openness and like, you know, it's not about even like, it's not always about, I want to create this amazing shop, but it's just like, oh, like, what are you home brewing? You know, it's like there's this great, like, you know, basic consumer is like, hey, I want to be a home brewer. You know, there's almost this pride of like, home brewers Indonesia, you know, so that's really fun to be sharing knowledge. And there's a lot of, you know, social media involved in that, like, you know, new brewing techniques and things like that. So I like, even compared to 3 years ago, like every year the level of consuming is just getting greater and greater. So there's really a unique landscape in that where it's like the producing and the consuming are happening in such close proximity, which is amazing. And another thing you see as well is just every year people are getting more excited about processing better, you know, like doing better processing and sorting and working with things like that.
And even,
personally,
I was going to say, even on like the professional level from like baristas and specialty cafes. I remember a mutual friend of ours, Zach Price, a ASD. He trains basically within the Specialty Coffee Association. Smart guy. And he, in our class, was sharing that majority of the Southeast Asian like demographic or coffee culture, in a sense, has a lot of money because it's a lot of younger people within a kind of, I don't want to mess anything up, but with like richer parents for the most part, and they're able to invest into like beautiful cafes. So you can go to like, especially like Thailand, which is not far from you. You can go and like there's a cafe like on the water on like these amazing boats, like something like so like out of the norm of what you would see in the Western world and in the United States. So there's that like, I guess the professional side is very aesthetic and very Instagram driven. But then again, I mean, not to discount the quality, because then again, we were just talking about that one dude from So Good Coffee who placed like third in the world at the world WBC. So it's like, there is that level of like quality, professionality, and like, I don't know if that's a word, but I made it sound good. But there's that degree of like that pursuit of like knowledge and experience within specialty coffee as well. So it's not like one thing or the other. 100%. So the professional level is 100% there.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And like, man, in my opinion, man, Indonesians are just so gifted in art and how they work with their hands, and they're just amazingly talented people. And like you said, you're seeing these amazing, unique cafes with incredible aesthetic popping up. Like I saw one in the place I used to live in, Java. They've created this like massive netting, like where you sit, it's like a suspended netting. It's
wild.
incredible. Like, so yeah, the aesthetics are incredible. And also, yeah, you're seeing a massive drive now for education and, companies that are offering education, and there is a specialty coffee association of Indonesia, and there's trainings happening all over the place. In East Java, there's one of the oldest coffee research centers started by the Dutch that have been carried on by the Indonesians. I think that research center is over 100 years old. Now, I've taken classes there, like certifications, which are really, I would say, on par with any other international education for sensory and cupping. And the beautiful thing is like, yeah, these companies that are offering education, you're having just sometimes up to 20 different origins on the table strictly from Indonesia. It's crazy, wild, so it's like there's education that's happening, which is incredible, a big push for that, and Indonesians, man, they're just really up and coming, and it's an incredible thing. And the younger generation are taking it serious, and it's just it's a beautiful thing to see for sure. The education and the
briefly
talents.
Tell me about you said like the producing level is not always because it's so widespread. It's not always perfect, but people are producing coffee, everything from as small as their home garden to like importing, exporting companies to obviously we've all seen like Sumatran coffee everywhere in the United States. So within that aspect, share a little bit on like farming and producing robusta versus arabica. What's going on there?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, for like the most basic level, for those that don't know, arabica generally grows at about 1,000 meters above sea level, upwards of that. People generally say a lower altitude arabica is pretty mild or mellow and nothing too exciting, but the higher the sea level you get, you're going to get more complexity and florals and things like that. That's generally been the way of thinking, but a big push that I'm seeing this year and the past couple of years, just playing with processing methods can really up the score of a coffee, like maybe a lower altitude arabica with a proper anaerobic processing or fermenting, you could get a lot more complex flavors out of it, which is a really fun thing to play around with. Generally, with Robusta, you could go anywhere as low as 600 meters above sea level to sea level, pretty much. I've seen some Robusta growing here directly at sea level. Some of the villages I've lived in on the west coast of this island, like they were like dead sea level, like straight up sea level there. So, and Robusta is generally, a lot stronger of a coffee, they would say. That's due to the caffeine, the higher caffeine content, meaning, a lot less, pests that are going to try to eat your coffee or mess with it or try to attack your tree. So generally, Robusta also has a lot more fruit. Generally, you see a lot more fruit on the tree compared to an Arabica. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, sorry, that's the word. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes my English is not so good anymore.
Dude, that's a phrase I've. Dude,
just from years of living in the village, man. I'll be honest, man. Sometimes my English just goes down, but yeah, you see a lot more volume of fruit on a Robusta tree. So it's producing a lot more. It's a lot less susceptible to pest and disease. So, but the price level is going to be a lot lower just because it's the caffeine being a lot higher. You're going to taste a lot more bitterness in the coffee, and the caffeine level, the sugar content in the cherries are much lower. So you don't get there's a lot less fruitiness in your coffee and a lot less sweetness. So there's definitely some downsides to the Robusta. And the Arabica has a lot higher sugar content. So that's kind of the basic overview. And there's a lot more to dive in to that, but that's kind of due to time, that's kind of the short thing like that. So what we're focusing on now, a big thing that we're doing, because I came into this village, and they would say there's a lot more Robusta. The Arabica is a relatively new thing here where I'm at. I'd say it only started about 3 years ago. with a push. There was an NGO or a nonprofit that came in, and we're doing some work with this farmer co-op, and they gave out about 1,000 seedlings of a typica and a cartica varietal of arabica, for those that are familiar with it. And they gave out about 1,000 seedlings, and they started to be, what's the term in English? I'm sorry. Farmed or planted, by this farmer co-op. So this farmer co-op wasn't really a coffee-focused farmer co-op. They were kind of doing whatever, we've got avocados, we've got durian, we've got cloves, we've got jackfruit. So it was kind of a mixed bag of things here, but coffee being a part of the culture, everybody has coffee. So this NGO came in and tried to give some training on coffee and trying to push that, obviously the price point on Arabica being as high as 3 times, sometimes it's 3 times higher than Robusta. So they gave out about 1,000 seedlings to be implemented here, So, but, a thing, sorry, I don't want to be too long-winded here, but an issue you see, there's a lot of things coming in, and we see this with the government. And I'm not bashing the government, but, there's a lot of like, hey, here's something, let's just give it to you, and not a lot of hands-on continuation, or there's not really a walking alongside with the farmers, and there's really no like connection to market. So you see a lot of like, hey, let's just dump something on you and then leave. So then there's not really a lot of initiative to continue that work. So the story I've heard, this is just for what I've heard from the farmers, is, we got these Arabica seedlings, but like, we have no access to a market. Exactly. So what's the point? Like, why would we do the work? Yeah. So like, we don't know the processing. How do you even process specialty coffee and do all that work? We sort the coffee up to 3 times sometimes, so it's like a really meticulous process, and why, like, we have no market, no outside, thing. Yeah. How do we get it out? So it's like until I came in, there hasn't really been a big push for doing specialty,
because you were telling me earlier that majority of the folks prefer Robusta, and if Robusta takes less labor and less investment, why even transfer or transition to Arabica, right? Especially when you're struggling to find a market for it, and especially if you're a small farm with a lack of education and understanding what to do. So it totally makes sense on why farmers would choose that. But I'm super excited for what you're doing now, because the stuff that you're doing now is like literally that's what gets me pumped. Like every text message we share about that, I'm just like, dude, bubbling. So share about that, like not to interrupt you, but go ahead and transition into like what you're working on right now.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So definitely like my heart and my vision, and we talk about it all the time, is that I would love, for this village to be a staple of coffee, people here, it's like, you hear Sumatra, oh yeah, that's like, you hear Aceh here, it's like, that's coffee, like people say Aceh all the time, Aceh Gayo, you hear that name, it's like coffee, so my heart and my vision is to, and, I'm not trying to be like, a hot button term is a white savior. I'm not trying to do that, I'm just trying to give the proper tools and like give a proper, market to get them out there, like I think there's a massive potential here, and that's what I want to, help them, like put them, get them up, and get them going, because no one else has been doing it. And like, I also work in tourism here, I have a hotel. So it's like, it's not like coffee's my only thing, but it's like, if coffee's what I can do to help work on a little bit of community development here and help them, so basically like what I've been doing, man, is with the Arabica here, it's like, I'm just helping them, teach processing. I'm doing a lot of post-harvest processing, I've helped them with, some processing machines. We're, currently partnering with you guys with Mirror Coffee. We're building a greenhouse, because this year we've got more, we had done a couple of racks last year, and I think we had about like 30 kilos last year, which wasn't enough. We built a couple of racks, but you guys have partnered with us and helped us build a greenhouse to, house about 200 kilos of Arabica, so that's really exciting, man. So yeah, I'm just, they're doing a lot of the work. I'm just helping them with some of the technical stuff. And, I'm, post harvest, like how do you, make specialty coffee sick. And showing them what needs to be sorted and playing with the fermentation and the pH levels and like really kind of, your things that I learned here in Java. And, they're just excited. The funny thing is like, they actually don't even want to drink the coffee. They're like, the important thing is it has a market. Like that's what they always tell me that. Like, if our consumers are happy, that's all they care about. Like they don't want like the super, fruity floral. It's like the important thing is like, these are like real people that like they need to pay for their children's education. It's like they're trying to put their kids through school. They're trying to have their basic needs met. So like they're like, as long as it has a market, we'll do the work and we're happy. So, really last year was like the first time, because I was working with that company in Java, and a lot of that was like I was just more of a tool in the machine, So last year was the really seeing my vision come to completion, was to see these guys, get out of debt, pay for their kids' schooling and stuff was an amazing thing for me. Like for them to tell me like, they paid off the debt they had, and like through Arabica coffee, they were able to get out of debt. They covered their kids, needs for the year. Like that was a really powerful moment for me, and, just implementing this year, we're doing more unique processing with anaerobic methods and like double fermentation and things like that. And, also hoping to do things with robusta, like do some experimental robusta. We just started that today, earlier this morning, sorting out the floaters and bagging them and getting some, I've asked a lot of people working throughout Java, like my other, coffee community people. And, a lot of people are trying to implement some new things this year. So we want to be on that wave and try to make some unique robusta that I have really high hopes for. I think we can get some acidic robusta. I think there's a possibility in that, maybe some floral robustas and trying to work with that, or even make some really good, espresso based, blends with some honey robusta or things like that.
Sick.
So really, just excited to do some new things with them, so and they're excited. Like I'm really touched. Like, the biggest thing I saw was like, they just didn't have a market, they didn't have that, like what's the point of working if we don't know where it's going, so they're just really, when they know that there's a possibility, and like
for sure
these guys work hard.
Thanks. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Drew. That was a lot. That was so good, dude. But the content is so rich. We're super short on time. I think we're gonna have to kind of leave it at there. I love the ending fact that you said that, man, these folks are literally just trying to put their kids through school and they're looking for a market. That also casts a little bit of vision in what you're doing right now is you're helping to elevate the quality, which is going to develop a market. And you and I were both like super committed and focused and hopeful that market continues to grow. People get a taste of amazing Indonesian coffees, and more farmers are able to create a more sustainable living pattern. So I'm pumped, and I'm super excited to be doing this. So
and it's, dude, absolutely, and just like, sorry, I know we're short on time, but like one last thing is like, it's amazing, like how little our money, like the little amount of money we have, like how far it goes here, like my vision for this year, my goal this year, I'm doing 1,000 new seedlings, and that's going to be like $250, like, and that's going to be almost 1 ton of coffee, it's like, we're like, how, my heart is like, dude, like, and there's a lot of, I don't like to use hot button words, but just the whole privilege thing. It's like, dude, the little bit amount of money we can, like what we have, the impact it can have globally, so it's like, man, like I'm open to do at least 1,000 new trees here, a new species that's going to be adapted to our climate, like, and 1,000 new trees next year, like, so it's like, that's my goal, is like every year, just keep pushing for more Arabica, higher pricing, better for them, so like every year I'm just looking to do more and more, and like keep on sowing into this place and get the name Sonaru like to be raised up, so like I want to have the name of Sonaru coffee like up there, so it doesn't take a lot, it's like, it's a little bit of money can go such a long ways and really impact people's lives. So that's, the goal this year is 1,000 new trees. Hopefully next year, 1,000 new trees, and just keep on looking for better new species, that are going to adapt to our climate and stuff and do some groundbreaking things.
Man, Taylor, such good stuff, dude. Again, thank you for joining us here. Thank you for sharing. Both Mark and I are just super pumped and excited for the future of Indonesian coffee.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Future of just like hanging out with you more, man. It's been way too long. We haven't hung out for
Likewise,
close to over 2 years. So hoping to
it's been a
make
minute,
make that visit sometime soon. Let's go. Borders open up. Let us in.
Yeah,
and we'll
sure.
hang.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
have the privilege of even doing a harvest together one day. But
dude, that would be awesome, dude. Yeah.
yes.
Also, a quick shameless plug for my hotel.
Yeah.
Rinjani Lighthouse. We're like an eco-friendly cottage.
Yeah.
We have a specialty a specialty cafe here, third wave shop. You can come, you can brew our coffee with us. You can harvest if you're here during the harvest time. Like, we're on Instagram, we're on booking.com,
Sick.
Airbnb. So anybody that's listening that wants to come for a fun Indonesian vacation, we have a beautiful homestay that's eco-friendly. You can climb Indonesia's second tallest active volcano.
Yes, that's dope.
And you can check out some really good coffee. So
yeah, we'll plug that. We'll add that into our notes. And I think that's going to be a wrap. Thanks, folks, for listening.
Awesome, yeah.
Another great episode of Mirror Coffee Roasters Warm-Up Sesh. Catch us on the next one. Later.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It means a lot. Yeah, thank you.